Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today I'm going to be doing my Tome Infinity and Beyond TBR. Now this is a fairly unusual video for me to do because I very rarely take part in readathons and I very rarely do TBRs, and this is both in one. However, very occasionally I do like to take part in a readathon, and this particular one is a bit more interesting and a little bit more curious than most because this has optional challenges in it where you can pick and match which challenge you think look interesting to you, and you're not forced to do this particular set. You can sort of match it to what you want rather more individually, and I like the sound of this a lot more, frankly, and that's often why I don't normally do readathons that often, because they're too fixed and rigid for my liking. Anyway, the point of this readathon is based obviously around science fiction books. You choose a ship and then you choose which of the planets you visit, and all of those have challenges, of which I will now get to because otherwise this video is going to be horribly long. Oh, and I almost forgot to say, this readathon takes place from Friday the 7th of September to Friday the 21st of September, so it's a 2-week readathon. Anyway, first of all you have to choose your ship, and for that I am choosing ship A, which is you are in this for the long haul, and this is simply to read a book over 500 pages, and that is actually really easy because actually quite a few of the books I'm going to be reading for this are, but in particular I'm going to be reading Orbital Cloud by Taiyo Fujii. Now I only just bought this a few weeks ago. I'm not going to talk about it too much in depth now because I already did a book haul where I talked about it, and I'll link that in the description box below. This sounds like a really interesting science fiction book with really interesting ideas. It's got politics, it's got technology, and it has all sorts of intrigue and mystery to it, I think. So it sounds really interesting, and I'm very much interested to get to this. The first planet that I'm going to visit is Mercury, which is the smallest planet. And the challenge for this one is, as you might have guessed, read a small book, specifically under 250 pages. And for this one, I'm going to be choosing The Drowned World by J.G. Ballard. I've really enjoyed Ballard in the past. This is a climate change science fiction book set around a alternative sort of timeline, London, where the seas have risen, London is devastated, and events happening somewhere. I don't really know too much about it. It is quite small, hence why I'm doing it for this particular challenge, and it does sound really interesting, and Ballard has worked for me before, so I'm quite looking forward to this. The third challenge is for Venus, and that is for favouring the bold, and for this you need to read a book which has a bold female main character, and for this I'm choosing 2 books, not just one, because it happens to be a duology, and those are the Lady Astronaut series or duology by Mary Robinette Kowal. This is comprised of The Calculating Stars and The Fated Sky. I have been wanting to read this for quite a few months now. This sounds really interesting. I've never read anything by Kowal before, so this will be my first Kowal book, and it sounds really interesting. The main character is of course a woman who wants to become the first lady astronaut, and everything's against her, and it sounds really interesting and really good, so I'm quite looking forward to this. Next up is Asteroid Belt, an iconic flight obstacle. For this you choose a space opera adventure, and for this there's only really one choice that I'm going to do, and that is one that you've seen on this channel before, and actually you can see his books there, and indeed there's 2 of his books, and that is Peter F. Hamilton and his Chronicles of the Fallen duology. These are both very large books individually. They are The Abyss Beyond Dreams and Night Without Stars. These are the very last books I have to read by Hamilton. Once I've read these, I believe, unless I'm misremembering, that I've read every single major book by him, fiction at least, and I am very interested to get to them because Hamilton knows how to do big epic scale science fiction with lots of characters, lots of locations, and a grand universe shaking plotline. That's what he does well, and I'm excited to get to these. Next up is Saturn, which is known for the rings that surround it, and this obviously means that this is to read a book with circles on the cover. And this one was a bit of a difficult one actually, because I keep looking at covers and most of them have strange shapes on the covers but not circles. And I've found a book that has very small circles indeed on the cover, which counts. And that is Autonomous by Annalee Newitz. This does have circles, they're very small, dotted in various places. This sounds really interesting. I've heard about this quite a lot in the last year. Quite a few of the other booktubers that I trust have read this and think it is a really interesting book. It sounds really good to me. It's about in the sort of near future, and it's to do with anti-patent scientists and a drug pirate, although it's not focused on that side of it as much as the blurb on the back makes out. Sounds interesting, and I will be quite interested to see exactly what the focus of this book is. The penultimate planet that I'm going to feature is Neptune, like the planet or the god. The challenge for this is to read either a science fiction book which features fantasy in the mix, or read a fantasy book which has a science fiction element within it. Either one works. For this, I am going to choose The Rise and Fall of D.O.D.O by Neal Stephenson and Nicole Galland. Stephenson is an author that I've read a little bit in the last few years of, and I've quite enjoyed his books. He always has some interesting ideas. He also has a habit of doing a bit of info dumping at times, frankly, which I don't personally mind. On the whole, I can sort of normally cope with it okay. This sounds a particularly interesting one because this is to do with sort of paranormal and science, and it sounds strange, frankly, and the cover's great as well, as an aside, so I'm quite interested to get this one. And finally, the last planet I'm going to visit is Pluto, which used to be a planet, but it's not anymore. Now it's classed as a orbiting asteroid, I believe, last time I heard. And for this, you have to simply read a vintage science fiction book. Vintage in this case meaning any science fiction book that is more than 25 years old, which technically means I'm vintage as well. Anyway, for this I'm going to indeed choose a science fiction masterwork, one of the yellow spines, and that is Rur and the War with the Newts by Karel Capek. Now this is a very old science fiction book. This is actually nearly 100 years old at this point. I think it's not 98 years old, I believe, at this exact moment. And one notable thing about this book is that this is the first book that ever uses the term robots. And indeed, Capek actually came up with that term himself. And indeed, Isaac Asimov credits this book and the author as giving him his own initial inspiration before he wrote the robot novels. So this is quite influential, I believe, and quite interesting, and I've been wanting to read this for quite a long time actually. I just never get around to it for whatever reason, but now I am. So I'm quite interested to get to this, and I'll let you know how it goes. So with that said, that's it for all of the books that I'm planning to read within the next few weeks. There are rather a lot of them. There are 9, which I think may be a bit over optimistic from some people's point of view. Considering most of these are not all that long, personally, apart from the Hamiltons, I don't really think I'll have an issue with them. I mean, it is 2 weeks long as well. If it was a week long, I wouldn't have tried this many. That would be too much. But 2 weeks, sorry, yeah, that's perfectly manageable. Anyway, if you've read any of these or would like to, then please leave a comment and we can have a conversation. If you have any suggestions for books for me to read based on these or anything else you've seen in other videos, then please leave a comment as well. I'm always interested to get into new books and new authors. All my social media links and anything else that I mentioned can be found in the description box below. And that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.